would have been very modern in about 1983, Benny and the team. But, I'm going to talk through the very sexy topic of validation, and listening to a lot of the pictures, I think I was thinking about this point to say that, validation trumps everything. So no matter how much people are skeptical of your idea or people don't believe in it, and by the way, don't care what us judges think of your idea if you believe in it, like we're just giving you feedback, 5 seconds about your idea. But validation wins. If in 2003 you said, I'm setting up a business, I'm going to get this frog who's going to do crazy dance moves, I'm going to create a phone ringtone, and I'm going to sell shitloads, alright? Pretty sure the Roman Emperor thumbs down and the ones that come around the room. If 6 months later I say to you, by the way, I've had 1 million people buy these for $5 and I can't get enough countries quick enough, all of a sudden it's like, alright, crazy frog wins, So just remember that. So today, what I go through is a few things quick. I actually want to leave a few times for questions because I think a lot of the stuff here is best done interactively with some of your actual businesses in mind. Why validate? The importance of it. These two categories of validation: the problem space and solution space. Look at problem validation, some techniques, how to choose your user groups, and then what to do with the output, and then solution validation. We won't go too much into how you build your solutions, but I presume that's to come in your course, but we'll talk about how that's linked to the customer piece. So usually they say people remember one thing out of any talk. So this is the one thing from my talk. Regardless of what I say, get out there in the next week and speak to 10 potential customers. All right? All good things flow from getting close to your customer base. So why validate? CP Insights, a number of us have done a range of surveys and studies on why startups fail. The top 20 reasons guide that you can have a look online. Number 3 was not the right team. Makes sense, right? Not the right founders, the team didn't gel, didn't work out. Number 2, ran out of cash. That will tend to hurt your business if you run out of cash. Old school business people would say, if there's anything you got to do, well, make sure you avoid is don't run out of cash. But what's number 1? Who wants to give a guess at what number 1 is?
No one buys it.
Give up?
Bad idea. Solving the wrong problem.
No one wants the bloody thing. So, we get in love with our own businesses and our own ideas, but no one buys it. The market doesn't want it. I wouldn't call it a waste of time, but you probably could learn a lot quicker. I like creating my own laws, so I've created a law here to talk through. So I found this to be very true. Actually, before I go into this, so whose idea is like less than 3 months old? Maybe a show of hands. Okay, that's what I would expect. Whose idea is from 3 to 12 months in the brewing? Okay. Who's 12 months plus? Alright, you guys are in trouble. No. So I think of Ben's law, which is your likelihood to admit it's wrong, your time talking about it and not validating it. So early on, while the idea is fresh, it's like if it's wrong, alright, whatever, I just thought about it. If you're that person who's been at the bar for 3 years telling someone about this genius idea and you've never done something about it, you're going to hold on so tightly to that because the amount of friends would have gone, yes, genius, that is such a good idea. You're vested in it. So part of the importance of validation is we're human beings, we get emotionally committed to our ideas, and the longer we go holding on to it and thinking it's strong without actually finding out what it is, the less likely we are to give it up. So actually it becomes this actually counter-cyclical thing. And guess what? Life's bloody short. So if it's not the right thing you're working on, move on to the next one. Average startup founder succeeds on their 3rd to 4th business, depending on which study you look at. So if this one doesn't work, great. You've just got to the next one even quicker, and then you get to number 3 even quicker, and you'll be playing the numbers right. 2 categories of validation. All right, so it's really important you separate out problem validation and solution validation. So a lot of people confuse this in their customer interviews and their research. and end up presenting already something a little bit formed or kind of validating an early version of what they think the answer is. You want to stay pure in this problem validation space until you are convinced that you're ready to move beyond that. And when problem validation, we're talking about what are the core problems or pain points we're looking to solve, and how do I decide whether they're worth pursuing. We'll talk a little bit about that. Whereas in solution mode, we're like, right, we've listened to you, we've heard what your problems and pain points are, here's some ideas for how we think we can solve it for you. Here's how we can do it so much better than your substitutes or alternatives that you will switch to us. We heard before that people are have natural inertia, naturally won't switch to alternative products. We know it's true. How many of us will switch to a different bank for a 0.5% different interest rate, even something like a home loan? Too freaking hard most of the time. We're creatures of habit. We won't switch often unless something is radically better. And so when we're in solution validation mode, we're looking for what those opportunities are. Every slide pack has to have an Einstein quote in it, right? So, no, he said something. I found it really true as I've continued to build products. He says, if I had only 1 hour to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes to find the problem and 5 minutes solving it. The reason for that is once you're clear on the problem, once you have that real clarity, the solution actually tends to often emerge. So problem validation. So here what we're looking at doing is finding root problems. So here often you want to have that investigative journalism mode on. So when the customer tells you about a problem, you want to be unpacking it. Here you've got, here you find it's painful. It's painful to find opportunities to do mixed martial arts outside of class. Oh, let's unpack that. Well, actually, I'd like to do it, but I'm currently fit and not close to a gym. Let's unpack that. Well, actually, I really, I don't find it as inspiring as it's presented. So you end up unpacking lots of interesting things by having that forensic mode on. There's a technique called the 5 whys, which you can have a look at, which sort of helps do that. Anyone who's got kids knows the 5 whys. Dad, why? Why? Eventually, it's just like, just bloody is, all right? I don't know why. And then you want a technique for deciding what problems are worth pursuing and how you weigh it up. Because often you'll find that there's a bunch of problems going on here. I could actually build a very elaborate set of solutions for it. What's the best stuff to go after? Or at least the best place to start. The techniques. The hero technique is customer interviews. And as also was spoken about previously, shadowing. We'll speak a little bit about customer interviews in a second. Shadowing, we mean following someone around, hopefully in a not creepy way, for a day, or for them using their existing products or services they use to solve that problem. You can learn a ton from just walking a day in someone's shoes. People often ask me how many customer interviews is enough. It's how long's a piece of string a little bit, but 8 to 10 is almost like minimum. If you haven't done 8 to 10 interviews, I really would stop. I wouldn't read too much of your results. Sometimes you need 100. Sometimes after 3 or 4, you start getting really good consistency. Customer surveys are terrible, but they're still useful. So don't build your product based on doing a survey monkey out to 200 people and like 85% said they use this and like 70% said they pay for it. Which you always get because you often upload in the questions, but people will just say anything when they're filling out a survey. They are great for quant though. If you want to know how many people are using an Android phone but an iOS phone, how many people live in this geography versus this, use this bank versus that. For quant data, they can be very useful and they're not completely irrelevant. You just got to be careful what you read into them. Then there's a customer surveys by the networks. There's a bunch of tools online now. Google Survey is a good one where you can effectively pay Google to reach out to this network and get survey responses for you. Ends up costing between 20 to 50 cents a response. And you can get very defined target groups. So you can say, I want to reach people in, Tasmania who are mountain bike riders, between the ages of 18 and 45, all that sort of niche demographic type breakdown. Really good for that. They do it quick, and you don't have to spend a bit of money, but you get some really targeted responses. And good old desktop research. Don't spend too long on this, but you don't have to spend no time on it either. Chances are the problem you're looking at isn't unique. In fact, if it is unique, you've probably got a problem with your problem. But lots of stuff can be discovered by looking at how other people have looked at this before. Often there's some really good in-depth thought in academia. Again, you don't spend too much time on this, but you're crazy not to learn from great minds who've been thinking about this problem for a while as well. Okay, so customer interviews. So at this stage, hands up who's done any sort of customer interview for their... Oh, okay, brilliant. Is that part of the selection criteria? Is it doing customer interviews? That's good. And well, maybe just real quick. So what are some any quick challenges you found in doing the customer interviews?
I found it extremely challenging. Interviewing, going into other martial arts schools or cold calling martial arts schools and saying to them that I've got a product that I want to interview your students and I want to interview with, because martial arts schools are very protective of their students because there's so much competition in martial arts.
Yeah.
And then also on top of that, a lot of them were also, they had sort of similar ideas to what I was working on, and it was a little bit of a we were sort of crossing over the same sort of ideas. But yeah, for me personally, it was very hard to get people to cooperate with me, just for fear of, like, they just need to protect their own students, which is their biggest asset.
Yeah.
And they thought I was going to come in and sort of steal them and that sort of stuff. And all my market research was basically done just from people that I knew in the industry.
Yeah.
And even then, I still found it quite difficult to do.
Yeah. Okay. And one like real little tip which may or may not help there is often I find I'm going interviews, I don't phrase it about me. I'm like, there's opportunity for the two of us to design something that's not out there right now that we know your students would love. I'd like, can I work with you to kind of...
That's kind of the road that I did take. Like, it wasn't a selfish sort of road, but I did sort of take that. But I had a lot of barriers to overcome, just to talk to people.
Yeah,
in that industry.
Okay. Yeah, well, not every person is going to say, "Yep, come on, I'll give you some time." And
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
I found two issues. One on the customer side, in that I was interviewing a target audience that already made the buying decision, so they were not interested in buying a solution.
Yeah.
So I had to go back to square one and actually get them early on in the buying decision. The other flip side is I called out to service providers in the aged care industry. No one wanted to talk to me because of what commissions taken. So there's that fear, if I say something, then I'm going to get scrutinized around the world.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a hard one. A bit of work in aged care. Yeah. Yeah, bloody hard getting the right customers to interview. That's why I say 8 to 10, and that people often think that's a small number, but that's still takes time.
I find it quite easy to find customers who like your product, but really hard to convince customers, which is generally the majority, who don't like your product at all. Have you got any tips on how to get customers, we even offer to pay them to talk, but they just seem to they didn't want to do it?
Well, here we're starting the problem space, right? So what you're actually trying to do is just find people that are willing to talk about their problems.
Right.
And that's often an easy way of framing it, because people like to talk about their problems. And so then you're building empathy too. It's like you're just understanding where they're coming from rather than, can I get feedback on my product? Now at some point you do want to move into like talking about your solution as well.
Okay.
But it's like, I often find it's a two-step process where it's like we can get someone talking about pain points, and then they say, hey, I'm going to think about that, and would you mind if I came back and ran some ideas by you about solving that in a couple of weeks' time? Then when you come back, the conversation's completely different. Yeah.
I think for me, and the space that I'm trying to play in at the moment is trying to find the customers actually, right? Because not everybody still looks at the real estate environment and goes, well, this is just how you sell a house, right?
Yeah.
Where it's trying to have the conversations with people going, well, we're looking at alternative let me understand your motivations. That's how I'm kind of trying to get across that at the moment. But sometimes with some of my ideas, it's about trying to find the right customers to have a conversation with. It's also really hard to just
Street
and go,
the answer is...
Hey, talk to me!
No, it's, and that's part of, think about the quote too about, spend 55 minutes in the problem space. Part of that is it's bloody hard to find them. Do I know these are the right people I'm speaking to? Sometimes you go down dead ends, and so it's the frustrating hard part, but also, once you start finding the right people, about pain points, it's not just about theoretically feeling good about it. You start in your gut kind of going, I'm freaking solving something important here, and it gets you fired up, you know. So the actual, you know, and it's also, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it, you know. So, and also sometimes we get caught up in trying to find the exact perfect customer to interview. You learn something from every interview. Now you want to pre-qualify a little bit, so you want to make sure they're in your category. But if you're always looking for the dream customer, you might be at risk of waiting too long to actually learn what you need to learn. So sometimes it's even just, hey, who do you know who's a friends or family, and just close network who fits close enough to that profile, so I can just start the learning cycle, you know, and then kind of end up spawning out from that, you know, because often one person knows a plus one, the plus one knows, you know. So pyramid scheme guys knew that a long time ago, right? I can get to the whole world if I just do plus ones for a while. So for customer interviews, it's still important to do a bit of planning, you know, like think about who you want to go after, how you pre-qualify them, and what do you want to get out of it. I think at the end of once I've got this data, what am I doing with it? I've actually seen a lot of people do a lot of interviews at the end of it, like I've got all this stuff and now I don't actually know what my next step is from it. So I think an interview script here is actually a really important part of it. So writing a script, so you've got a standardised set of questions that you're asking everybody. I've got a script template, which I'm happy to share with you guys towards the end. And it's really important for it to be unbiased. I think Teresa's going to speak a little bit to that, aren't she? You know, because we all have a tendency to kind of go, how good is this clicker? You know, how good is my app that I've built, you know? So our body language and our language can do it, like, you know, human beings are like, they're feeding off you, so if they feel like you want them to say it's amazing, they will tell you that. So that art of asking questions is really important, you know, unbiased language, you know. Hey, I'm designing a clicker, you know, can we make this the best clicker possible together? Tell me what you like and what you don't like about it. I need to improve it, you know. Calm, neutral language gets good answers. Executing, generally good to do it in pairs if you can, because when you're in question mode, you want to be present, you want to be kind of asking questions, and someone to take notes. If you can't do that, maybe ask for permission to do a voice recording. If not, just work on your multitasking, but ideally done with pairs, it makes it a more social experience. And then do one first. Don't feel like you've got to do 20 interviews all the same. Do one interview and kind of go, all right, that didn't work, you know, what landed, what didn't. I'll tweak my script, try it then on 2, try it on 4. You know, so you don't have to, you know, particularly if you spent precious time lining up interviews, don't waste them all with the same script without first learning how well it works. And then of course at the end of it, you want that, what's my conclusion, what's my so what from that. A really good exercise is you've got 5 minutes to explain to someone who knows nothing about your business. Can you synthesize everything you learned in 5 minutes? Good discipline. In terms of the groups of people to choose, so there's you and your team. You know, it's dangerous because sometimes you're biased, obviously, but practicing your own team, or you as a Founders Institute cohort, you know, helping each other practice interview questions. Maybe you know people that are in the interview target market, so don't underestimate your own value as a cohort there. But also you and your team, eating your own dog food and using your own interviews and doing your own stuff is important. FFF, I don't know what FFF stands for now, do we? Friends, Family and Fools. But we underestimate our own inner circle so much. You know, I found this even when it comes to hiring people, I often underestimate just reaching out in my own network. But you know, sometimes putting a Facebook post out there or reaching out to 10 people and saying, hey, I'd love to connect with someone in real estate with this profile. Do you know 2 people who catch up for coffee and have a chat? And then there's the early adopters, early believers, you know. Every business has had to have someone who's backed them and said, you know what, I'll give this a crack. You know, it sounds a bit flaky, not sure if it's going to work. But you hustle and work hard enough, you can find those first people, and often it's that first one, you know, it might be that first gym that says, you know what, all right, got nothing to lose, I'll be a pilot customer. And success begets success, and people will always look at those first proof points. And this becomes a really important group as you kind of continue to build your business into something beyond early stage. Teresa, are you going to speak about ranking the? Okay, all right. Well, I'm going to speak about ranking. So often you end up with a bunch of stuff at the end of these problem interviews, and you kind of go, well, how do I decide what's what? All right. And you want to end up with a system or a method that you use, all right? And so what I tend to say is, what's the level of pain? And often it's a little bit subjective, like how much did I feel with this pain point that was brought up? You know, how I was felt. How many people do I think have that pain point? You know, so if it's a massive pain point for one person, probably not worth going after. You know, and if it's a really tiny pain point, doesn't matter if the whole world's got it. You know, so you're trying to find something in between. Consistency. How many times did you hear the same elaboration of that pain point? So the more you kind of hear that consistent amount, the better. And you might still have that commercial viability lens on, even at this stage, kind of go, all right, it's a pain point that I can't, you know, pain point that I can't get vegan pizza all the time, you know, but there's 0.01% of people that want vegan pizza, so, you know, is that really where I should start for my pizza business? Before I go on from that, because I'm conscious I did rush through it, I didn't have pretty slides like the last one. Any questions on that? Any thoughts? We're good? All right. I have also a custom interview canvas, because you've got to have canvases in the startup world, as you probably learn. So I've got a one-pager about how you kind of can frame and plan for your customer interviews as well. Okay, so solution validation. So let's say you've gone, you've found some problems, you've ranked them, and then you've decided, all right, I'm pretty sure I'm onto something here. You've then gone and created something tangible to go back, perhaps to that same group, perhaps to a different group. And show them and say, here is my thoughts on how I'm going to solve this, you know, and this is the fun step. You've sketched something, you've created a landing page, prototype, you've got a video. I'm sure as part of this program there'll be a whole range of techniques there to bring your solution to life. And then what you're going back is you're going back and getting feedback on that, saying, hey, there were these problems, just to reiterate, these are the problems we're looking at. You know, you can even confirm again that they're the right problems, you know. Would this solve it if I build this, you know? And you can often do that validation with something very early stage. It could be a sketch, could just be a visualization. But you're giving people a sense of kind of going, oh yeah, okay, if you build that for me, yeah, I guess that would solve my problem. And then this is the killer, you know? How much better is this than what you're doing today to solve that problem? You know, 1x, 3x, okay, could be interesting. You know, 10x, we're looking for 10x. What's something you're doing here where you're like, oh my God, you do that one thing for me, I'll use this product even if you got nothing else, all right? I remember we were, you know, we were looking early on in our business at accountants, you know, a very sexy topic, and the accountant world is like a whole wash of accountants. So there was this one accountant, this was back in the day, who did R&D, tax incentives well, you know, and so turns out he actually did everything else terribly. But he did that one thing, R&D, and it was early stages, so not many people did it, you know. And so we moved our whole business over to this account, just on that one thing, you know. And so right in that market, he was the only person that was kind of well positioned for it. And that was his little thing, you know. Time window was only short, but you know, that was his differentiator market. So we're looking for those opportunities. And better for you to do a small number of things, small number of features in that 10x category, then spread yourself across things which aren't significantly better than competition. Iterate, same thing with solution validation. Don't just think it's like a one-time exercise if I put stuff in front of people, get feedback, you get that feedback, you get it in the background, you can reflect it, come back again, try it again, and so forth, you know? And that's why if you can have a really amazing set of users that are willing to go on that journey of problem, feedback on first solution, second, third, they are worth their weight in gold. In terms of solution validation techniques, there's custom interviews, which I mentioned, going back to the people you spoke to. There's guerrilla testing, hitting the streets with your product and getting feedback. It can be very humiliating, but very rewarding. You know, don't underestimate the people in your own building or your own local area who may be able to give you good feedback. Landing pages, create a page, pretend it's live, sell the pitch, get people to potentially give an email to sign up to hear more. Facebook ads, you can create a Facebook ad as if the product's real, see how many people look at it, click on it. Very low cost, for a couple of $100, you can get a sense of whether your message is resonating and whether your positioning resonates. Customer surveys showing a solution can still be relevant in some cases. And there's a range of online feedback tools like Preely where you can actually submit your designs or your sketches and people out on the internet will give you feedback on them, independent, objective feedback. Can be a little bit skewed towards people that like to give feedback on the internet. It can be really good for things like, first impression stuff. It's like, I didn't really get what you're offering there, or hey, have you thought about, the fact that you've got 3 call to actions on the page. You can get some design feedback and stuff like that as well, but you can target it, you can actually get feedback rapidly. Alright, so I said I did one take, which is going to take out, it's going to be this, but for me in summary, life's short, we've only got so many years in us. Don't spend time building the wrong business, going the wrong direction. I spent 20 years building products, and probably half of them I could have saved. I won't call them wasted, but by doing a lot of this stuff quicker, faster. So these days I like to think I'm taking my own advice. Stay in that problem space for as long as you need to. Don't get frustrated with it, because you are saving yourself a long time, longer term. Number one reason why startups fail, weren't solving a problem that people gave a shit about. Those early customers worth their weight in gold. Find them, do whatever it takes to get those groups in place. Go back to them. Enjoy this co-design process. I really mean that. When you care about your customers and you're co-designing with them, you're doing stuff together, don't forget to have fun along the way. I did promise a couple of things. So I've got a customer interview canvas and an interview template. And I find if I give resources and slides, no one ever accesses them. So if you send me an email, I promise to send both of them to you. If you don't send me an email, I promise not to send them to you. All right, thank you.